Okay, so we're here with our mermaid and we've parented everything. So now I'm going to show you how to do some basic keyframing and interpolation with the tweens. So first I'm going to lock all the layers that I'm not going to touch just to be safe and to make sure that I don't accidentally touch anything that I don't want to touch. I could also just sort of solo these parts. So what I want in the end is for her to have something like this, where she's waving her hand, and we're going to do all these different animations using different techniques. So for this, we can just use plain parent hinging. So this is going to work pretty similar to what we talked about in Flash in terms of, basic rotation transformations. The only difference here is that they're going to be parented to each other, so it'll make it a little bit easier keeping the limbs intact. And the way that we're going to in between acts a little differently. So the first thing we want to do is set our pivot points. As you see, the pivot points for each of these pieces is dead center. And obviously, we know that our arm does not rotate from the dead center of things. So what we want to do is set these pivot points. The tool that we use to do that, it's kind of a futzy name. It's called Pan Behind Anchor Tool. All you have to do is hold down Y, and you're going to get this little cursor with the four arrows. Take the pivot point and drag it to where you want the joint to be. So the hand obviously would be at the wrist. With the lower arm, obviously just hold down Y. We want that to be at the elbow. And for the upper arm, you'd want that to be at the shoulder. So now having the rotate tool selected, which is W, it should rotate in the correct places like so. And it's all parented to each other. So as this piece moves, everything else moves. Pretty nice. So you'll notice as I'm moving it, it's not actually laying down any keyframes. And again, when you're working in Animate or Toon Boom, you will see different cells as exposures. Here it's just a timeline, so you're just dealing with frames in terms of seconds, but you don't see cells in the same way that you do with a hand-drawn program. Before we start animating, what we need to do is tell After Effects that we want the keyframes to listen to specific properties. Right now, I could rotate it here and go here and rotate it there, and nothing's going to happen. There's not going to be any information that's saved to the computer in terms of keyframing. So what you would want to do is have it listen for what you want it to record. So in this case, we want After Effects to listen for a rotate keyframe. So what you can do is, let me see, R is for rotation, and with the lower hand, lower arm, and lower upper arm selected, if you hit R, you'll see that the rotation property appears for every single one of those things. And this little stopwatch means it's listening for a keyframe. The fact that it's not toggled on means that it's not listening for a keyframe, which is why there's no keyframe being laid down. The minute I toggle these on, it starts listening. So if this is my first position and I wanted everything to move here, you will see that now, oops, sorry, wrong one. You will see that my shortcuts aren't working anymore and it's not playing. Always super fun. I wonder if it's because of... You'll see that now there's a keyframe laid down here. You'll see that there's a keyframe down here that looks like a little diamond, and this is the second keyframe down here. So as you go from here to here, you'll see that the computer is automatically in-betweening. So if I want her to kind of have a cycle of back and forth, then I'd probably want to start with, and if you want to delete a keyframe, you just select it and hit delete, and then the keyframe is gone. So for our first keyframe, let's choose something that is an extreme. So when you have the property selected and you hit U, it will automatically pull down anything that's keyframed. So it doesn't matter if it's position or scale. Since rotation, that's the one you see. So you can either hit R to pull down the rotation, or you can hit U to show that part right there. So let us select her arm Okay, we're going to select our arm and put it into an extreme. So we're going to have rotate tool, rotate it to an extreme here. And we're just going to cut this keyframe and just go to frame 1 and paste it right there. And then at 3 seconds, she's going to be at her other extreme. And then we're just going to copy this, and at 6 seconds, just paste it. So she's going down and then back up. And then we'll talk about how to loop this in another tutorial. So right now it's just a lower arm and there's not any overlap happening. It's kind of stiff and robotic. So in order to sort of get overlapping action, you want to start thinking about, well, how are you going to rotate and drag the movement of the lower arm? So as the upper arm's coming down, the lower arm would be dragging back. And then say we want to sort of keyframe it here, that it's sort of dragging behind a little bit that way. So again, it's dragging behind. And then in order to go frame forward, frame back, it's not going to be period and comma. It's going to be page up and page down. So as you go page up and page down, my computer's running very slowly, so it's not listening to my keyframes. Have it go up, and then she's going to be dragging behind it. And then we're just going to copy this frame and then return to the loop right here, because we want it to be just a clean loop. So, and again, you could sort of play around. You know, all you need to do to move your keyframes is just to click and drag them. That's all it takes. Basically, I just want that limb to kind of break around the corner so that it kind of moves. And then here, it's going to just drag a little bit here. There we go. And then lastly, I want to do the same thing with the hand. So let me see. So here the hand would be in the middle of sort of breaking backwards, and as it drags down here, the hand would probably be dragging behind like that. So it's going to be dragging, dragging, dragging. And then as she kind of breaks around the corner, it's going to be following the action and then dragging again here. And then back up to this neutral position. So now it looks a little bit more organic with that sort of drag and follow through. It's dragging and following through. However, I would play this back in real time, but my cache it's going very, very slowly, as you can see from the playback here. It's not ideal. It's very even. There's no ease in and ease out with this, which is making it still, you know, going into that sense of it being robotic. So After Effects has a very easy way to add ease in and ease out, and we'll go over that I'd say the next lesson, but really it's 1 second long. So what you would do is you would select the keyframes that you want that sort of ease in, ease out applied to, and then hit F12. You would just hit F9, and you'll see down here that the little diamonds of the keyframes turn into hourglasses. And what that means is that a basic ease in and ease out has been applied to all the movement. So that's what that looks like.